In this video, we're going to start to look at some of the options for 5-axis tilting, for example, starting with this part. We're going to look at the toolpath on here real quickly. We'll go ahead and left-click here, and we'll set this to show us the path. We can see we have a nice, clean path that goes all the way down to the bottom here. Now, we do have one issue. If you go ahead and look at that tool and the gauge length sticking out. So we'll go ahead and go right into the parameters here. We're going to look right at the holder, and we can see that we have a tool projection of 0.750. That's a nice short extension based on the tool diameter that we're using, being a 3/16. We don't want that, of course, to hang out too long. We'd like it to be a little bit more rigid. As we look at the motion real quickly, I'll go ahead and bring this tool down farther into the part. As we can see, we are engaged with the part using the holder. So we need to look at being able to avoid that. So we're going to look at a few options. So let's go ahead and start off with, I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this down. But before I do that real quickly, I'd like to show you that I've set up some stock for you, basically being a stock model with this particular part with 20 thousandths of material on that. So if I go ahead and select here, you can see, and I'll Alt-T to remove the toolpath, we have a nice shiny part underneath there with excess of extra 20 thousandths of material. So we'll go ahead and set that up based off the part, and we add an extra 20 grand. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Turn off the toolpath. So as we've seen already, it makes an engagement, and it will hit the particular part. So I'm going to go ahead and select this toolpath. I'm going to right-click and drag it and copy it after. And I'm going to go back into the parameters. So I'm going to go back over to the tool holder. I like the tool. I like the motion. I like the gauge length that's sticking out. So I'm going to go look at the option up here of collision checking. Now that we've defined a holder, we have a trim to avoid gouge. So in this case, this is now set for an outside profile here based on our configuration here. So I'm going to go ahead and say we can come within 10 thousandths of the actual shank of the tool. We can come within 30 thousandths of the actual profile of the holder. Now I'd also like to look at the front edge closest to the tool. So clearance on holder bottom in this area here shown in red. So what we're telling it to do is avoid by gouge. So in this case, what it'll do is it'll look at the holder and make sure the holder does not make contact with the part based on this criteria here. So we'll go ahead and regenerate that by saying OK. Green check. Let's let that process. We have a prompt here. This is basically letting us know that it's checked the tool holder against this selected part. We're going to say OK. And that'll continue processing through. Okay, we are now done with the processing. I'm going to left-click on the toolpath here and make sure it's set for trace mode so we can see where the tool is making engagement. So you can see the tool actually pulled away from those walls based on the tool engagement we set with the criteria of the size of the holder. So we'll go ahead and say OK. We're going to right-click, put this in isometric. As you see now, we have one tool that works really nicely of making sure that tool does not engage with the holder against the part. But it still does not cut the whole part like we'd like to see. As we can see through our first one here, nice, clean toolpath. I'd like to have that motion based on that tool holder. So in our next video, we're going to actually show you another tool to actually get into your first 5-axis tool cut and tilt the tool away.